All right. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory to YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, Kakwadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of great millstone that taught us this truth. And salutations to the hopeful elect that's around the four corners of the globe. And the elect begins with the 144,000. YAHAWAH, who the world ignorantly calls God and Jehovah. BAHASHAM is in the name. YAHAWASHI, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. The Rakakwadash is the Holy Spirit. I'm the brother Iwalumia with the GM at Chicago camp out here in Chicago. Come back at you with another lesson. And Lord, I hope this lesson be edifying to you. The hopeful right select, the ones of the household of faith. Once again, I hope this lesson is edifying. Through the spirit, when it taught to this lesson, we are yet this day in our captivity being afflicted by our enemies, man. Because wherever Jake is, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, especially here in America, which is Babylon the Great, we're being afflicted by our enemies, man. And our number one enemy being a so-called white man. Let's actually get that Psalms 83 real quick. We're still slaves, especially here in America. We're still slaves around the world, man. We're still under, the boots of our enemies, starting with the so-called white man, the Edomites, and what? We are yet this day in our captivity. Let's actually get that real quick before I jump into that Psalms 83. This is the book of Baruch 3 and 8. It says, behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, but thou hast scattered us for a reproach and a curse, and to be subject to payments, according to all the iniquities of our fathers, which departed from the Lord our power. Right, we are yet this day in our captivity, man. Because ultimately what? We transgressed the law, statutes, and commandments of YAHAWASHI. What? So the Lord ultimately delivered us into to the enemies, man. I'm going to get that Psalms 83 in a second. But it says for a reproach and a curse, and to be subject to payments, right? We have to pay bills in this society and things of that nature, man. We have to pay for things, that comes naturally out of the earth, man. Hey, Job 9:24, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked, man. We have to, as going into the curses of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, we have to go to this man, a one of all things, man. Even to the point where even in Jake's so-called their own communities, right? Jake had Moab, Elam, Ishmael, in their so-called neighborhoods, basically taking advantage of us, man. Of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. What do these different heathen nations set up in Jake's neighborhood? Jake's so-called neighborhood, salon shops, they get they basically put beauty supply stores, so they can make money off the so-called black woman, with those weaves and things like that, these different things. But it says, according to all the iniquities of our fathers, which departed from the Lord our power, right? Like I said before, we transgressed the law, statutes, and commandments. We sinned against YAHAWASHI. So ultimately, we was put in this position, man. And even to this very day, man, our people are still going off, man. So that's why, pertaining to the, the curses, Deuteronomy 28, starting at verses 15 to verse 68, ultimately our enemies are over us, man. But let's get that Psalms 83. Even in the fact, I forgot to mention too, we have IDs, birth certificates, things of that nature, because we're ultimately owned, by the, the elite banking families of this society, man, because the day we're born, man, what, it's the day we become slaves, man. We're born into slavery, essentially, because what we're issued what a birth certificate, a social security number, But let's get that Psalms 83 real quick. This is the book of Psalms 83 and 1. This is a psalm, or a psalm of Asaph. Keep not thy silence, O power. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O power. It says, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hated thee have lifted up the head. Right, talking about, our adversaries, man. And it's going to name who those adversaries are. It says, they have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. Right. Who is those? Who's Israel, man? And you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, man. Not those small hats in the land of Israel today, man. Because ultimately what they stole our identity. That's another lesson, Lord willing, in the future I want to jump into too. But ultimately, Amalek over there in the land of Israel right now, basically what, calling themselves, the Jews, they call themselves Israelis, but what in actuality is Israelites. We're the Israelites, pertaining to the Bible, man. You read the curses of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, man, and that applies to us, man. You so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, man. You know, let me read verse 4 again. It says Psalms 83 and 4. It says, then they have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. Right? Because ultimately, what? They try to keep us in subjection, man. They don't want us to learn, our true identity, man. You know, ultimately what they give us, African American, Mexican American, things of that nature, man. That because ultimately what these nations come together to see how they can ultimately, keep us down, man, to keep us in this lower state. You know, it's a thing called what, the summit, where all these nations ultimately meet up and things of that nature, to discuss how ultimately, how they're going to continue to keep our people down, man. These things are discussed, man. You know, it says, verse 5, it says, for they have consulted together with one consent. They are a confederate against thee. Right. And it's going to name our enemies. It says the tabernacles of Edom, right, the so-called white man, and the Ishmaelites, right, the so-called Arabs, of Moab and the Hagarenes, right? Moab being, the so-called Chinese. Because ultimately, when a so-called white man came to the west coast of Africa, because you have to understand the history, 70 AD, what, we fled into, the interiors of Africa, and mainly what, we had fled to the west coast of Africa. Times later, what, the so-called white man end up what, teamed up with Ishmael and teamed up with Ham, ultimately end up what, putting our people on slave ships and bringing us to this side of the world by the way of the transatlantic slave trade, man. And even to this day, man, we're being afflicted by our enemies. It says in the Hagarenes, says Gabal and Ammon and Amalek, the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre. So you have what? You have, the so-called Chinese, you have the so-called Arabs, the so-called white man, and the so-called Japanese. All these different nations, what? Conspire together to basically to bring us down and to continue to keep us in this lower state, man. Because what? They don't want us to come back to our, to our power, YAHAWASHI, YAHAWASHI. So ultimately, they keep us into this lower state. So what? That we don't rise, man. But it says, verse 8, it says, Assure also is joined with them. They have hope in the children of Lot, Salah. Right. So ultimately, all these different nations, take a part and basically oppressing us, man. Keeping us away from our nationality and things of that nature, man. But who is our main oppressor? Who is our number one oppressor, man? Esau Edom. Let me grab this real quick. Let me see. Can I grab it real quick? This is the book of Isaiah 42 and 22. It says, but this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes, and they are hid in prison houses. They are for a prey, and none delivereth, for a spoil, and none shall restore. Right. But this is a people robbed and spoiled, but they are snared in holes, and they are hid in prison houses. Right. Who is the, the majority of the population that's basically what? Put in these different prison jail cells, man. A so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Basically, even going back to the 90s, right? What was that? That's something Joe Biden had passed. What's that? The 3-strike rule. How ultimately, putting a lot of so-called black men behind, the jail cell, the things of that nature. But all these, goes back to the curses of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. All of our people, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, they make money. This is a big, money-making scheme, man, that Esau Edom uses. Putting our people, behind the prison system, and ultimately what? Making money off our people, and ultimately, Esau Edom knows that when our people gets basically trapped into the system, they're going to constantly go back because of what? How this system is designed, to basically to keep our people in that lower state, to keep our people down. But yeah, our people are oppressed, man, even unto this very day. And with that, let me follow up with this. This is the book of First Maccabees 2 and 10. It says, what nation have not had a part in her kingdom and got up of her spoils? Right, because as I read in that Psalms, the 83rd chapter, man, all these different nations had a part in taking our people down, man. To putting our people into subjection, abusing our people. Hey, even to this very day, let me read it again. This is the book of First Maccabees 2 and 10. It says, what nation have not had a part in her kingdom and got out of her spoils? Right. Every one of these heathen nations had us in slavery, man. Talking about the Edomites, that's not number one enemy, man. Hey, the so-called Chinese, the Japanese, you know, the Arabs, the Elamites being the so-called East Indians, man. All these different nations had us in slavery, man. Even talking about the four major captivities, man. Hey, Babylon, you had the Persian Medes, you had the Grecians, you had the Romans, and we're in the second leg of Rome right now, man. Which is ruled by Esau Edom, the self-proclaimed white man, you know? And we're under this devil to this very day, man. We're under subjection, to this devil to this very day. As I read that Baruch 3 and 8, we are yet this day in our captivity, man. Because who's ultimately going to free us from this captivity, man? YAHAWASHI, when he makes his second return. But ultimately, until then, man, hey, we're under the foot of our enemy, starting with the so-called white man. Let's get that Joel 3. It's the book of Joel 3 and 1. It says, "For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem." Right, because that ultimately happened, man, when we came over, 70 AD, when our people failed, man. We fled, into the interiors of Africa, mainly the west coast of Africa, and ultimately the so-called white man, teamed up with the Ishmaelites, and the Hamites, basically bringing us to this side of the world, man, by the way of the transatlantic slave trade, man. Because of what? We have sinned against YAHAWASHI. So ultimately the Lord set up our enemies over us. It says, verse 2, "I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of YAHAWASHI." And that's happening right now, man, because the Lord is getting these nations ready for World War III, which is over there in the so-called Middle East, man. "And will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. And they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for an harlot, and have sold a girl for wine that they may drink." Right, our people, being sold into slavery, man. Mainly by the so-called white man. Prostituting our little boys. If you watch a lot of these slave movies, man, hey, 12 Years a Slave, Goodbye Uncle Tom, things of that nature, man, you can see, the atrocities that our people went through. It says, verse 4, it says, "Yea, and what ye have to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coast of Palestine, will ye render me a recompense? And if you recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head?" Right? Because a lot of these Hamites even, hey, had a lot of our people in captivity, man. Hey, think about, us being in the captivity under the Egyptians, man, which are Hamites, Pharaoh basically abusing our people, you know, hey, even to this very day, man, we're being afflicted by these devils, man, with the rest of these nations also, joining on to Esau Edom, to basically, join in, in afflicting us. It says, "And if you recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head?" Because ultimately, the curses are going to come upon our enemies, man. Hey, Deuteronomy 30 and 7, the curses coming upon our enemies. What's that? Jeremiah 30 and 16. Jeremiah 30 and 16. All our adversaries are going to be devoured. The ones that devoured us, man. That's about to come, man. The Lord is basically going to do the whole switch around. We're going to be ruling over our enemies, man. It says, verse 5, it says, "Because he have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temples my goodly pleasant things." It says, "The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have you sold unto the Grecians, that ye might remove them far from their border." Right? It says the children of Judah and the children of Jerusalem, right? The southern and the northern kingdom, man. Because it talks about what? Judah and Israel were oppressed together, man. You have Negroes, the Latinos, and Native Americans, ultimately the communities together, suffering, being oppressed together by the same damn enemy, man. The so-called white man. And the rest of the nations joined unto them. Hey, Psalms 83, the 83rd chapter, which I just read, right? It says, "The children of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have you sold into the Grecians." Who is the Grecians, man? The Edomites, the so-called white man. "That ye might remove them far from their border." Right, that's ultimately what had happened, man. We were sold, hey, the transatlantic slave trade, man. Even going back before the Southern Kingdom came over here to the side of the world, man. You had the so-called white man afflicting the Northern Kingdom, man. What's that? 1492. Christopher Columbus ultimately coming over here, basically killing a lot of the Taino Indians. on the island of Hispaniola, you know, it says that he might remove them far from their border. Right. Ultimately, what we're being taken away from our homeland, which is Israel. Ultimately, removing farther and farther away from our homeland by the way of slavery. Verse 7 it says, "Behold, I will raise them out of their place." Slack. Behold, I will raise them out of the place where ye have sold them, and will return the recompense upon your own head. Meaning what? We're going to be, we're going to be their slave masters. In the world that's to come, man. Yeah, because the kingdom of heaven, which is the world that's to come, man. Ultimately, we're going to be ruling over our enemies, man. Isaiah 14:2 says, we shall rule over our oppressors, man. It says, verse 7, "Behold, I will raise them out of the place where ye have sold them, and I will return your recompense upon your own head." It says, "And I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the children of Judah, and they shall sell them to the Sabians, to a people far off, for Yahawah has spoken it." Right. So ultimately, all those that afflicted us, man, hey, they're going to be afflicted. And I just mentioned that Jeremiah 30:16. I'm going to read it real quick. Jeremiah 30:16, it says, "Therefore all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thine adversaries, every one of them shall go into captivity, and they that spoil thee shall be as spoil, and all that prey upon thee will I give for a prey." And at this current moment, man, we're for a prey, man. These different other nations coming, into a Jake, like I said, so-called Jake's neighborhood, because we don't own anything, man. And the curses tell you that, man. If you read Deuteronomy, it was that 28 verses 15 to 68, we should go to our enemies for the one of all things, man. Hey, we're a prey to these different nations, man. We're a prey to all these nations, starting with Esau, Edom, man. Because we have to go to him for the one of all things, man. But let me get this. This is the book of Daniel 9:12. It says, "And he have confirmed his words which he spake against us and against our judges that judged us, by bringing upon us a great evil." What is that great evil, man? Hey, us, basically going into captivity, us feeling the plagues that the Lord sent upon us for breaking the laws, statutes, and commandments. Us, being destroyed in the face of our enemies, man. That is the great evil that YAHAWASHI sent upon our people, man. It says, "For under the whole heaven have not been done as have been done upon Jerusalem," man. Hey, we have suffered the greatest atrocity, as a people upon this planet Earth, man. Just look at the different stories that you can read about, the horrors of slavery that our people went through, man. Hey, butt breaking, our people being lynched in masses, man, even happening to this very day, things of that nature, man. Hey, our people, being killed, without cause, man, by this devil, and the devil getting off scot-free. Our people is, even to this day, man, is facing atrocity, man. Let me get this. I'll probably close out with this Baruch 4. Let me grab that real quick. Just something I was thinking about, us being, in this captivity to this, very day serving our enemies, man. But ultimately, we're coming into a time where the Lord is, changing everything around, man. It's going to be, to our benefit, man, starting with the elect, man, because we're going to be ruling over our enemies, But this is the book of Baruch 4. Let's see. Baruch 4:14. It says, "Let them that dwell about Zion come, and remember ye the captivity of my sons and daughters, which the everlasting had brought upon them." Right? Because who ultimately brought slavery upon us in these different atrocities? YAHAWASHI, man. He chastised us for what? For breaking the law, statutes, and commandments. So ultimately, we had to go through it. It says, verse 15, it says, "For he had brought a nation upon them from far, a shameless nation, and of a strange language, who neither reverence old man nor pity child." Right. It says, "These have carried away the dear beloved children of the widow, and left her that was alone, desolate, without daughters. But what can I help you? For he that brought these plagues upon you will deliver you from the hands of your enemies." Right. Talking about who? Because Yahawah is going to send his son YAHAWASHI back to deliver us from the hands of our enemies, man. And we're coming into those times, man. Hey, the Lord is going to deliver his elect of the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, you know, from the hands of our enemies. Who are our enemies, man? Hey, Psalms 83, man, starting with the Edomites, the so-called white man. The Lord is going to deliver us out of their hands, man. And our, number one enemy being the Edomites, the so-called white man. It says, verse 19 says, go your way, O my children, go your way, for I am left desolate. I had put off the clothing of peace and put upon me the sackcloth of my prayer. I will cry unto the everlasting in my days. Be of good cheer, O my children. Cry unto the Lord, and he will deliver you from the power and the hand of the enemies. Because the only one that's going to deliver us, man, is YAHAWASHI. We can't deliver ourselves, man. You know, you see Jake, trying to deliver themselves by what? Carnal means, man. But what? We're not going to overcome this devil by carnal means, man. We have to wait upon, the Lord, because the Lord wants his glory first, and the Lord is going to deliver us from the hand of the enemy, man. The Lord is going to get vengeance for us, man. All that, all them that afflicted us, man. The Lord is going to get vengeance for us. It says, verse 22, it says, for my people is in the everlasting. Salaki, it says, for my hope is in the everlasting, that he will save you, and joy is coming to you. Salaki, it says, joy is coming to me from the Holy One, because of the mercy which shall soon come unto you from the everlasting our Savior. Right, YAHAWASHI coming back to deliver us from the hands of the enemies, man. It says, for I sent you out with mourning and weeping, but Yahweh will give you to me again with joy and gladness forever. Right, because ultimately what? The Lord is going to deliver us by the way of the chariots, and what? We're going to be perfected, and ultimately the Lord is going to give what? Payback. The Lord is going to give us, the necks of our enemies, man. We're going to have these devils and these other nations in captivity, man. Hey, the Lord is going to give us these things, man. It says, verse 24, it says, like as now the neighbors of Zion have seen your captivity, so shall they see shortly your salvation from our power, which shall come upon you with great glory and brightness of the everlasting. Right. So what? These nations, bringing us into captivity, oppressing us, abusing us, killing us, killing our children, killing our women, butt breaking the men, these different atrocities, these different nations cutting off, because the Edomites and the so-called Arabs, Salakia, the so-called white man, the so-called Arabs, did this a lot, man. Cut the rods off our men, man. Making them eunuchs. It says, like as now the neighbors of Zion have seen your captivity, so shall they see shortly your salvation from our power, which shall come upon you with great glory and brightness of the everlasting. Right, Wisdom of Solomon, the fifth chapter, man. The strangers of our salvation, man. They're going to see the deliverance of Zion, man. The elect of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, man. It says, verse 25, it says, my children suffer patiently the wrath that is come upon you from Yahweh, for thine enemy have persecuted thee, but surely thou shalt see his destruction and shalt tread upon his neck. Right, we're gonna get our payback, man. All the shit that these nations have done to us, man, because we're being afflicted to this very day, man. We're under payments, we're subject unto payments, as I read in that Baruch 3 and 8, man. And we have to pay rent, we have to pay bills, we have to pay things that naturally comes out the earth, man. We're being oppressed on every side, man. But ultimately, what? The Lord is going to, play that Uno reverse card, man. We're going to be treading upon their high places. We're going to be tread upon their neck, man. We're going to put a lot of these people to death, man. We're going to put a lot of these nations to death, man. They're going to be serving us in the kingdom that's to come, the kingdom of heaven. That's what we have to look forward to, man. The curses are coming upon our enemies. We're being afflicted right now, but what? The Lord is going to change that around real soon. And we're living in those times right now, man. So I'm ending off right there. Lord willing, I hope this lesson was edifying. I want to end up by giving all praise, honor, glory to Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, MakaKodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of great millstone that taught us this truth. And salutations to the hopeful elect that's around the four corners of the globe. Lord willing, I hope this lesson was edifying. Until next time, Kwam Yasharallah, Shalom, and a Baba Ball. And until next time, Lord willing, I'm going to come back with another lesson soon. Shalom.